let's go ahead and do a roll call anyway, Mr. Baptiste. That's okay?
Okay. Darrell Anderson,
Here.
John Sherfus, Christopher Smith,
Here.
Jerry LaBeouf,
Here.
Dallas Smith, Farhana Swati, Rhonda Connor.
Here.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Mr. LaBeouf to give us an invocation, please. Mr. LaBeouf.
Jerry?
Is Jerry still with us?
Jerry, can you hear us? I think he lost
Jerry, I think you're muted.
you. Jerry, you have your phone on mute. Yeah, he have it on mute.
Okay, Ms. Connors, will you do the invocation for us, please?
This Connor's on mute. All your
Everybody's muted.
on mute.
But they can hear me, though.
Okay, can you do the invitation, Rev?
Yeah, I sure can. God, we thank you for this time. Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for the plans that you have given to us. Help us to do things that are decent and that will benefit your town. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Got two Jerrys now, man.
Okay, so this says no minutes for this particular meeting. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
That's correct.
All right. Okay, so we move to presentation, Mr. Baptiste.
Yeah, prior to getting to your meeting, Mr. Chairman, we have some guests with us today. I know at the last agenda, we talked about our discussion with the Chief of Police, the City of Port Arthur Chief of Police, Chief Durso, and we went through the process of trying to find Port Arthur residents that would make candidates for the class that began today, April the 3rd. And Chief, if you're available, can you introduce your two candidates? Chief?
Yes, I'm available. We have
Okay.
Mr. Jackson and Mr. Bradley. I think we have two fine candidates that are going to attend the LIT Police Academy. Actually started today. Hopefully, I guess by the end of the year, they're going to graduate and join the Port Arthur Police Department is the goal.
Mr. Jackson, is there anything you would like to say to this board?
Just I'd like to thank y'all for the opportunity that's been presented to me, and I'm looking forward to serving my community.
Thank you. And Mr.
We got
Bradley.
Ms. Bradley Broussard.
Oh yeah, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. I think it's great what y'all are doing for the community of Port Arthur and keeping people who were born and grew up here.
And Madam, Mr. Chairman, if Kate, if you don't mind, on your non-consent item number 2, can we go there and take that while these gentlemen are present? Or you want to, how you want to deal with this, Chairman?
It's up to the chairman.
I'm okay with us doing it right now. That's fine with me.
Okay. On your non-consent item number 2 is to discuss for possible consideration a training reimbursement agreement. Mr. Chairman and board members, at your last board meeting, we talked about recruiting for these cadets. These two cadets, they actually started class, Mr. Bradley and Mr. Jackson, today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And a lot of their costs, well, all their costs was out of pocket. The total cost for the training program is $4,000. That's for the tuition, the uniform, the supply, the belt, and everything else that goes along for those guys to complete the training program. And what I'm recommending or asking the board to do is, because they have already paid their fees, and this, like they said, they will be going to class from today until the end of December. And, you know, it's a full-time job. And I think that by reimbursing them, they will have some money in their pocket while they're going to school. I'm asking the board, in the future, we're gonna have a longer period of time to do this process, but because class started today, we just had to, they have to go through a process. They have to go through a process to get into the academy. And these two gentlemen had gone through that process, and we identified them. So we're asking you guys to reimburse them. In the future, we will pay the tuition and all the other supplies. Chief, you want to say anything to that?
No, I think you're right. Like I said, we found out about this program, I guess in the 11th hour, and two what we would call very good candidates for the Port Arthur Police Department rose to the top, and we didn't want to miss an opportunity to have a shot at them first. So we kind of expedited the process with the help of EDC, and thank God they're both in and they're going. So we don't have to wait for January to get them in a program. They're in it now, and hopefully they'll be employed with us in January or the latter part of December.
And board members, I will tell you, we had two members of the board that was that sat in with us through this process. The chairman, Mr. Anderson, and Ms. Swati also sat in. These gentlemen went through an interview process with the board members, myself, George, the chief, the deputy chief, and they come very highly recommended. I ask that you guys, I recommend that you guys fund these guys at $4,000 reimbursement upon them provide me with all their receipts. Any receipt that they provide me with, I could reimburse them up to $4,000. That is my recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that sounds good. And just to reiterate what Mr. Baptiste was saying, the reason why this is a reimbursement is because the class already started, and we would not have had time to get everything in place and pay for it in advance. So they had to do what was necessary to begin the class on today. And again, to the two gentlemen that we are paying and sponsoring their training for this session, congratulations. And we're glad that you're considering to come and work and be a part of the PA Police Department upon successful completion of this particular training. So with that being said, do we have any questions about this agenda item?
I have a question, Mr. Anderson. It's $4,000 per person?
Madam Commissioner, the tuition itself is $2,700.
Mm-hmm.
The $1,300 is they have to have uniform, they have to have belts. Chief, you could probably, they have to have a psychological test taken, they have to have a fingerprint taken, a whole lot of tests taken before they even could get into. So what we're doing, and in the future, we're gonna pay for all that for future applicants. But it's $1,300 worth of
It's the
tests.
total is $4,000 per applicant.
Okay.
Right. But the tuition is only $2,700.
Okay, thank you.
That answers your question, ma'am?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Connors, I know initially when we discussed this, we were saying somewhere around $1,000 per student, but after speaking with the chief and one of his deputies, they explained to us that there were some other costs that were incurred. And in the past, I know, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, that we paid not just for the training, but also for we put monies towards supplies that were needed for the participant to be successful in that particular training. So I know Mr. Baptiste is going to bring up the amount of people that we plan on funding and sponsoring through this program so that we can cap off at a certain number. And so we'll have some money allocated just for this particular training program.
Hey, Mr. Anderson, this is Christopher Smith. Additional question. Imagine after this first cycle and these guys successfully navigate this lane, I imagine there might be another assessment of all the needs that have not been covered, because I can think of a few other things they might need that's not being covered here. And I imagine, are we going to have some type of outlay of what they're possibly going to look like for the next time we visit this lane again? Or we're going to have some tab forward or something like that to evaluate?
Chairman Smith, excellent question. I tell you, the chief and his deputy have given us an outline of what type of individuals they are looking for. And I think a lot of the decisions are made based upon the individual success in completing the academy. And a lot of it is you know, just through this interview process, the chief, two of his deputy chiefs are there, and they are asking these people pertinent questions about why you want to be a police officer, why here in Port Arthur. And they know the culture and the character of that individual that they're looking for. And we have board members that's asking them questions also. So based upon that, we make recommendations. Then they have to go through this battery of assessment, psychological evaluation, whole bunch of battery, fingerprint, criminal record. They got to pass all that before they could even get to the classroom. Yeah. So I think we have a good process. Like the chief alluded to, we kind of started late this time. In fact, I think we had about 4 applicants. We narrowed it down to 2 because we couldn't get them through the process to get in class, because they have to go through all that process to get there. And I think these 2 gentlemen, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Bradley, going through that process assures us of some success. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Floyd, thank you.
Okay, any other questions about that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion to move on that.
And I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve the reimbursement for the tuition for the gentleman for the police academy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, again, and we'll go back to presentations.
While we have the chief on here, Chairman, is it possible that we could go to number 1 also? Chief, you still there, right?
Yes. Oh, before we move to the next one, is it okay to release the 2 candidates?
Yes, sir. Congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations. Thank you all. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Y'all can go now. Okay. Chairman, again, if you don't mind, we still have the chief on, and non-consent number 1.
That's fine. We can look at number 1.
Yes, sir. And number 1 is to discuss for possible consideration entering into a workforce development pre-employment agreement with Lamar Institute of Technology for the academy training of police cadets. What we're asking you guys to enter into a pre-employment training program with LIT to train future Port Arthur resident And what we have done is we looked at this semester and future semesters so that we won't have to come back to you guys. We have set aside $40,000. So these two gentlemen would be two. We'd like to train at least 10 Port Arthur residents within the next year or so as police cadets, and we're asking your permission to enter into this agreement with LIT.
Okay, so this is pretty much the training program we were talking about in agenda item number 2 that we are reimbursing the 2 candidates for, or 2 participants for at this time. So are there any other questions about the training program from the board? If there be no questions, may I have a motion?
I'm sorry, this is
Yes.
Christopher Smith. My mic
right
didn't
ahead.
come on quick. From a high level overview, and I think the chief is here. The chief, can you walk us through what a training program look like from a high level?
As far as the police academy, okay, what happens is, you know, there's a test when you go through the Port Arthur process, Port Arthur Police Department process. We give a civil service test. From that test, we go with the top candidates on that list. For example, if we're looking for 5 candidates, we'll take the first 5 and we'll start a background investigation on them. If they pass the background investigation, then they're selected to go to the police academy. We provide the uniforms, we provide some of the other accessories. Initially, we said it was 1,000 something, close to 2,000 to the 10. That was for the police department. I didn't have an idea that there was a different price for people that sponsored themselves, but there's a different price. They'll do 4 months in the academy. Most of it's classroom, then they PT, I think 3 or 4 times a week. They go to the range where they do firearms training, they do defensive tactics training, and you must maintain 80 average to stay in the class. Once you graduate from the academy, then you have to be licensed by the state of Texas, which is commonly referred to as T-code. They'll take the T-code examination. And if you pass that T-code, you have to pass the T-code examination to be employed by a police agency. Once you pass the T-code examination, then you'll start the orientation program with the Port Arthur Police Department. And that's like 3.5 to 4 weeks, where they're teaching you some of the same things that you've learned in the academy. You go with policies and procedures, defensive tactics. You go back over the law. You go through taser training. They tase you. You go back to firearms, and you learn the computer system within the police department. After you complete all of that, then you're with a field training officer. Once you start off that field training officer, it's like a 4 to 5 month process where you're riding with somebody before you actually cut loose to ride by yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we move forward with that initiative.
Is there a second?
I second.
Good. It's been moved and seconded. We move forward with the workforce initiative training for the police academy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for what you're doing by helping the citizens of Port Arthur and the police department. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
Have a good evening.
Glad to be able to do it. You have a good evening.
All right.
Mr. Baptiste, are we moving back to presentations now?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to go back. Thank
All
you very
right,
much,
presentations.
Kate.
Okay, we discussed the last meeting a little bit about the new market tax credit structure, and tonight there's obviously no action. This is a presentation, but it was just to kind of go over the original structure and then briefly touch on the unwind of the structure. So I think a little bit before the meeting, Joni sent you all this diagram via email. And this diagram was the original structure of the new market tax credits. So anyways, I don't know if you have it available to review as I go through it, but it gives a visual of how everything works. So before I can talk about unwinding it, we have to talk about how it was set up. So the city of so the EDC is what's called the leverage lender in the new market tax credit structure. And what it did is it loaned $3.8 million to the project. And the project is the 501 Proctor building. This money was used to retrofit it. So the EDC loaned, that was called Loan A, and they loaned approximately $3.8 million to the investment fund. And then Chase Community Equity LLC, they're what's called a CDE. They're community developer. And they their equity in the project, or the debt, was approximately $1.8 million, and that's Loan B. So the whole reason Chase does this is because they get what's called new market tax credits, and it helps them, and there's a big tax benefit. And since we're not the CDE, I'm not going to go into all of their tax benefits on that, but that's what they're called. So there were two loans, and they're called Qualified Low Income Community Investment. It's called Qualiky loans. And what they did is they equaled to about $5.3 million, and the EDC took that money and they retrofitted 501 Proctor. So you were able to spend $3.8 million and get a brand new building for $5.8 million. Well, you have to, there's a 7-year compliance period with the new market tax credit program for the CDE, which is Chase, to get its benefit. Well, we're getting close to the end of the 7-year compliance period. And so at the end of the 7 years, you unwind the structure. Basically, what that means is the CDE, which is Chase, they want to get out of the deal. You know, they don't want to be involved anymore. They've gotten their tax credit benefit, and they're ready to be done with everything. And so the way that they exit the structure is via the put call agreement. So at the back in 2013, whenever we closed the transaction, there were documents this thick. One of the documents that the EDC as the purchaser executed with Chase as the fund member was a put call agreement. And basically what that agreement provides is that Chase can put their interest to the EDC, and the EDC can purchase it for $1,000. There's also a call provision, but most likely that provision won't be exercised, because we're going to do what's called a direct acquisition. So basically, whenever the EDC exercises its put, which says, hey, Chase, we want to acquire your interest, which Chase's interest is they're the ones holding the debt. They're the ones who are holding this $1.8 million loan, right? We purchased that debt for $1,000, and then the EDC has both, they own all of the debt on the building. And so the debt, and I know this is, everyone's eyes are rolling in the back of their head, but just stay with me here. The debt is worth more than the current building. So the EDC, by holding all of the debt, basically can purchase the building from 501 Proctor, which is the entity that owns the building. And they had to own the building because you had to have a qualified low income business own the building. The leverage lender in the new market deal, you cannot, the leverage lender cannot be the ultimate end owner. So we had to create 501 Proctor for this purpose. And so they're the ones who own the building currently, but we're going to do a direct acquisition where if the EDC owns all the debt, they can purchase the building from 501 Proctor for the debt, and then we will cancel out the master lease agreement. All of this is just to let you know that we're going to be working on this entire unwind transaction in the upcoming months. August 12th, we have a call with Chase and Chase's attorneys because, of course, there will be legal documents that we'll have to sign, etc. And also, we're going to have to get the 501 Proctor board involved as well because they are the owner of the building. 501 Proctor, even though it was set up for this project, it is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit entity. It is not really related. The reason it's related to the EDC is because it was required for this transaction, but 501 Proctor is a completely separate entity, legal entity. But the ultimate goal out of all of this is for the EDC to own the building, and that was always the goal even back in 2013. And so right now we're just working on the proper path ahead so that we can do this. And since all of you are newer, well, you know, some of y'all aren't that new, but the majority weren't here in 2013, I just kind of wanted to explain what the structure was so you had a better working knowledge of some of the players from back in 2013. If you have any questions, you can give me a call. But we'll be working on this, and I just thought this diagram would do a little bit better so you could see, and you'll see these other triangles. These were just entities to kind of hold the money, and they're all done for these structures. But the main ones you just need to know about was Chase, and then the EDC is the leverage lender, and the 501 Proctor, and just how the EDC will ultimately end up owning the building. So I will stop boring you so we can get on to the rest of the minutes, and but hopefully this helps you all have a better working knowledge as we go forward. And you might eventually we're going to have a joint meeting with 501 Proctor, and so I just want to lay all this out before we got to that point.
Okay, Kate, we thank you for that explanation, but can you do that all over again? I missed some parts. I'm just kidding.
Okay, you want me to go back?
For Kate?
I'm just kidding.
Hey,
Any questions for
Darryl, this
Kate?
is Chris. I had a question for Katie, maybe Floyd. Once we have ownership of this building and all the leases and all the spaces within that building, and we kind of get some occupancy and get back to some future state, whatever we want to call it, is it our plan to take the revenue that we generate from the open spaces in that thing to kind of continue to fund some of our initiatives? What is our plan beyond owning our building and the spaces that we have in that building? Can we talk to that about it, or that's too far ahead?
Now, what happens even now, the building currently is about 90% fully occupied. We get revenue from the lease of this space on a monthly basis, and that revenue goes into your fund balance. And every year you budget what you want to use and how you want to use it. So yes, now I think what Kate is alluding to, every quarter we pay about $13,000 to 501 Proctor because we just leasing the building. That will go away.
Right. There's a lease payment to 501 Proctor, but it's the payment though is to service the debt. So it's not 501 Proctor doesn't profit from that. Basically, we can make that payment as it's a debt payment is really what that is. And then we do have quarterly interest payments on the debt. But again, you know, we say debt, but we were able to spend $3 million and get almost $6 million. So it really was a great deal. Something that the only way we could redo the building. But but that's how it's currently operating. So like Mr. Batiste said, once we own the building, we won't have to pay any rent, like we'll own it.
There you go. Makes sense to
Money
me.
just go around in a circle, but it come back to us, Chris.
Got it. Understood. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Kate?
I think Kate, you know, I like to keep my board very much informed. I think, and I don't know the answer to this, that's why I'm asking the question, Kate. You know, Kate talked about the $5 million and, you know, we got this thing for 40-something% of the money. There was an additional $1.2 million that we got from Apple that 501 have control of. So I think my question is, what happened to that money?
Well, you know, that's what's interesting is because, you know, so Apple purchased some historical tax credits, but in 501 Proctor, we have it in a bank account. What's interesting is 501 Proctor is its own legal entity. So that board basically has the ability to spend it. Now, 501 Proctor's bylaws are very, very specific. It specifically states, and in their articles of incorporation specifically provide that they were created for rehabilitating downtown Port Arthur. So the catch-22 is whenever you dissolve a nonprofit corporation, you have to, if they have any sort of funds in their bank account, it has to go to another nonprofit with the same exact purpose. So even though it's there, you know, we're still kind of struggling with the idea of, you know, how exactly would you get that? But that's a conversation for us to have with the 501 Proctor board. Right now, we're not looking at dissolving them because, again, dissolving a nonprofit, you have to identify another nonprofit to provide that money to. So it's kind of a little perplexing, but we're working. We'll work through that. But that's how it is right now.
Okay, right. And like Kate said, board member, you know, 501 is its own entity, and their charter says that they can only do certain things within the downtown area, and you know, the board gonna make a decision. 501 done it, but as Kate said, I think it's good to have an organization like this because if we have another new market project, they're already in place. You know, they're already in place.
That
We don't have to go
That
back.
was my question. Why we want to dissolve it?
Right. There and even not even.
We cannot dissolve it.
Right. We sorry, Matt. We don't have, the EDC has no legal authority to dissolve 501 Proctor because they're its own legal entity and they have to dissolve themselves. But sorry, my girls are sorry, my kids are singing. Anyways,
It sounds wonderful.
yeah. Anyways, but I agree. I think it's good to have 501 Proctor because they're a 501c3, and if there were any sort of grant or state or federal funding opportunities, you know, to continue to assist with the redevelopment of Port Arthur, you know, we could work with them. I think there's some maybe creative solutions on how we can move forward, but we just want to go ahead. The EDC board and the 501 Proctor board have really been kind of working independently, and so I think Floyd and I's desire would be to kind of have y'all kind of start working maybe a little bit more collaboratively, so that the EDC's purpose is continued to be pushed forward even through 501 Proctor. So that would be our ultimate goal, and so hopefully we'll have a joint meeting soon, and not only can we talk about the unwinding of the 501 proctor structure, but also maybe, what the EDC board, how the EDC board would like to see the 501 proctor board, in the future, et cetera.
That was going to be my question. How do we determine, like, I know the 501 proctors are a separate entity, but their board members have been the same, if I'm not wrong in that.
Right, so their board members have been the same. They, again, that's another kind of catch-22. They're the ones who kind of can remove a board member, can keep a board member. At the time when we created it, it was made up of EDC members. But as you all know, the EDC board changes a little bit more, and so it stayed the same. And for you all who may not know, the EDC, the 501 proctor board is made up of Commissioner Senegal, Caprina Frank, Deborah Scott, and Pat Holmes, and Eli Roberts. So that's who's on it right now. And I think whenever we created 501 Proctor, Floyd, I think Caprina, Eli, and Pat Holmes were on the EDC board.
We wanted a majority of EDC board members on that board and 2 outside. So the 2 outside folks was Commissioner Senegal and Miss Scott. But both, as Kate said, Eli, Caprina, and Ms. Holmes, they were serving on this board. They understood what we were trying to do. So we always wanted a majority of EDC board members. And the other thing that, Kate will tell you, when 501 have a meeting, it's also with Kate and I. So we make their agenda, we do whatever. Just like we deal with you guys, if there's invoice, we bring it to them. At one time when we were constructing the building, we had to go tell them about everything that was going on in the building because they own the building. So we have a very good working relationship with these folks.
Right.
Now, Kate, I think their bylaws their charter give them a flexibility on who would be on that board or not be on that board. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll have to.
I know they've been maintaining the same board, and it's been good for us because we have people who understand the structure that we're in.
Right.
And as Kate tried to explain to you guys, it's a very easy structure to go through.
Any other questions for Kate? All right. Thank you, Kate, so very much.
Thank you.
This is our next presentation. Mr. Baptiste?
The Chamber of Commerce, I think the Chamber of Commerce, a contractor business development group that's going to happen. I don't have the date on here. I'll find out and I'll email you guys. I don't have the date on what I have in front of me. So, but it's a business development group. I think they were looking for a sponsorship. And Kate, I did not see how we could be a sponsorship on this. They're putting together a forum for contractors to come visit industry. So I didn't see as I
think that's just kind of more just an information thing that they're going to be doing a business development with any sort of contractor that might be interested in the Golden Pass project, but I don't think it's.
But there is a sponsorship there, but I would not recommend us sponsoring something like this at this time.
Yeah.
The next communication you had guys have, I don't know, George, which one of the kids sent this over? You remember? From Logistics? Can't hear you, George. You're on mute.
I'm sorry, Alana Lewis.
Alana Lewis. She sent us an email inviting the board to an event that they have Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. That's their last week at Robogistics. So they want to say thank you guys. And what I did receive a call today from Robogistics asking how many board members going to be attending, because we also inviting council people. Because they want to know how many people they have to feed. If you plan on being there, you can give George or myself a call and let us know, so we can let Robogistics know. George, you want to give them the good news about Robogistics, what we heard today?
Okay, we sent I think it was 8 over there to Robogistics for interns, 8 students, 7. I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. One of them didn't. He went out of town. We sent 7 of them, and of course they did their entire 8 weeks. This is their last week, like Mr. Baptiste said. And out of the 7, they're gonna offer 2 of them full-time positions and 2 of them part-time positions, only because they're going to attend college. So myself, Mr. Baptiste, Mr. Anderson, we had a brief conversation today. You know, pretty much excited. This was our first go round with Robogistics. Mr. Baptiste already said that we would have to establish this workforce for Robogistics simply because, you know, that's a new industry here in Port Arthur. So these kids did a great job. As you see, they're asking us to come Friday to come celebrate with them on their last day, and it's real big for us considering that out of the 7, 4 of them were offered positions.
Yeah, that's great. That's outstanding, George. That's good news, real good news. For the sake of those that may not understand who Robogistics is, I mean, and for the sake of the audience here, George, what can you tell us about what did the kids learn? I mean, tell me about the intern. What was the curriculum? What did they do for those 8 weeks, every week?
George?
Well, I know one of the kids, they were head over heels with one of the kids. Matter of fact, he was in the room, on the production team, to where they even asked us, could they take him to Houston, because they had a project they were working on in Houston. And Mr. Baptiste and I both said, hey, that's part of the job. It's just like any other job. If you have to go off site, you got to go off site. Another young lady, she worked in a storehouse. I explained to Mr. Baptiste and Mr. Anderson. I kind of, one day I went in and I talked with her and with the other kid. But when I spoke with her, I told her that she's going to remember this forever, because they didn't have anyone to set up their storeroom. So she designed that. She put all of their products, along the walls in baskets, labeled them, everything for what they need. And you had a couple of people working in the office. You had one who was an assistant, I believe, to an engineer in there. So a lot of the kids, were selected by Mr. Anderson and the help of the others at Memorial High School CAPE program. And this is something that the owner, Sal, said that he wants to continue, because they were pleased with the quality of the kids from our school district.
That's great. That's great. That's a wonderful story. Wonderful story. I don't know how we're going to market that or promote that, but I would love to see we can evangelize that or socialize that, because that's a big win for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Commissioner.
Man, the plan, Mr. Smith, is to blow that thing up, man. We were actually feeling our way through it this year.
Correct.
And I hate to steal the CEO's thunder on this, but we were feeling our way through it this year, and we were still able to get those 4 jobs. So now, with us knowing what they want, man, we're looking to do something bigger and greater this year. So kudos to Mr. Baptiste and to George and to Crystal for really quarterbacking this thing. They did a wonderful job with it.
Well, I would say, Chris, guy, I think 2-3 years ago when you first came on the board, we were talking about Robogistics, and they was on the other side of town, and the first visit was about 3 years ago to Beaumont, and Crystal and I went to visit them, And the thing that we sold to Sal, who was the manager there, was that we're going to help you build a workforce. And we have done everything that we have said we were going to do. We said we was going to connect them with the local university. We were going to connect them with the local high school. And Chairman, you know, we have visited the high school 3 times.
Yes, sir.
Actually visit all the classes in the K building, so he know what's there. And he said to me today, Floyd, we're going to build our workforce from here because what we train, we know they're going to be good. So I think we see a bright future for our young kids at Robogistics.
That's outstanding, outstanding.
And Chris, I remember the time we tried to get a tour of the place, we couldn't get it. But now, and I will tell you guys, those who come out there Friday, you guys will actually see a robot. And, you know, we have actually seen the robot, you know, moving the things, the whole deal, man. It's actually working, guys. It's amazing.
Sounds good. Congratulations, everyone, and thank you for your support.
Congratulations to those kids.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments concerning this presentation? Again, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Baptiste and to George and to all those who had a part in putting this together. It was a journey, but it was well worth it. And I was glad that you were persistent, and it all paid off. So we're happy about that.
Thank you.
All right, so we're ready to go to our non-consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's drop down to agenda item number 3, which we kind of talked about a little bit, to discuss for possible consideration a joint meeting to the 501 Proctor.
I think Kate and I decided that once we meet with Chase and the group and we actually know how this thing gonna roll out, we would like to sit down with 501 Proctor Board and then have a joint meeting with you guys because so that everybody understands what's going on. Or what's a better way to say it, Kate?
Right, I agree. We have the call with Chase and EDC, I believe, on August 12th, I want to say, Floyd.
Right.
So we just wanted to give you all a heads up that before your September meeting, we would be reaching out to you all to try to get a joint meeting with the 501 Proctor Board, most likely via Zoom, to update everyone at one time about the unwinding structure. Like what I presented, I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go, but we won't know 100% until we get on the phone with Chase. So there, you don't really have to make a specific motion. We just wanted to let you all know that don't be surprised if later in the month we call a special meeting between you all and 501 Proctor on just the unwinding structure, etc.
Okay, any questions about that particular agenda item? I entertain a motion.
I don't think it's no motion on that.
No motion needed for that one?
No.
So we're just gonna do it.
Mr. Chairman, table executive session count for.
You said executive session for number 4?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so agenda item number 5. To discuss the possible consideration and renewal of the lease agreement with G&G Enterprises.
Yes, sir. G&G is currently a tenant on the 3rd floor, George.
Yes, sir.
3rd floor. They had 2 offices. They are wanting to give up one of those offices. They like to stay in the building, but they don't have the need for 2 offices. They just want to lease 1 building. The attorneys have prepared a second amendment to the lease agreement, and we ask for you guys' approval.
Any questions about that from the board members?
It's the same lease
May I have a-
agreement you always have, just a renewal. Just good.
Yeah, may I have a motion, please?
I offer a motion for that.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we approve the renewal of the lease agreement for G&G Enterprises. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Jerry, you're on mute. We cannot hear you, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Motion carries. All right, so let's move to agenda item number 6 to discuss the possible consideration renewal of a lease agreement with Collins Engineering. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. Again, Collins Engineers currently occupying 2 office space within our building. They're asking to renew that lease for an additional 3 years, and we recommend that the board approve the second amendment to that lease agreement.
Any questions about that, board members?
Mr. Chairman, this second amendment, what does that consist of? Is it just the extension, or is there anything additional besides the first amendment, or?
It's just another renewal, and we just changed the address in there from, I think it was their corporate headquarters to the 501 Proctor building.
Okay, got it. No change, no additional questions.
If there be no additional questions, I entertain a motion.
I motion.
I
May I have a
second.
Second.
All right, been moved and second that we approve the second renewal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 7 is to ratify the city manager's emergency approval for removal of sand and sludge from the open pit, removing the pit and changes in the 549 4th Street project not to exceed $25,000. Mr. Baptiste?
I'm gonna have to take the board back, and I want to try to explain to you guys where the money is at, or where the money came from. I put this in your package. For 549 4th Street, we went up and we got a grant, and we was awarded a grant of $4.7 million. As our match to the grant was $1,175,000. Then we started talking with our contractor and trying to get to a GMP. We needed additional money because we didn't have enough money once we got the contract and the architect in the building. So we had an idea of what we was going to pay to renovate what we wanted done. So we went back and the board approved going to ask the council for another additional $1,625,000, which gave us a total project cost of about $7.5 million. We negotiated a guaranteed maximum price with CTEX, the contractor, which was $7.25 million. And that left you with a contingency of $250,000. Okay. And I'm saying all this because the project, when I say the project, the contractor has a contingency in his budget. And we also have a contingency. And when Kate, myself, and Guy and the contractor sat down at Guy's office and came to an agreement on the GMP, we knew there were going to be some white boxes. So we built the building based upon the amount of money we had, okay? when we got into the construction phase of the building, a lot of things happened. Still some unknown. And the emergency things that I'm asking you guys to approve was, you heard me before, the removal of the sand and the sludge that they found. They found a concrete pit below the slab. And I think I have Nathan. Is Nathan available, George?
Yeah, he's on. He's on.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I'm
Help
here.
me out, Nathan. There was a concrete pit below the slab that we found. And we brought the environmental team in here to try to remove the sludge and the concrete. And that happened. It cost us $18,089. Then the contractor went back there and they thought they could have just pulled over that thing to build and put another structure. And the contractor felt that was not secure without taking that pit out. It would not be. So we went, take the pit out. That cost us another $38,500, okay? In the original bid, the contractor recommended certain type of doors. And now that we in the process of acquiring those doors, the lamination that recommended was no longer there. So we had to get some new laminate. And these are interior doors for the whole building. The additional cost is $3,109, okay? And the last thing I have on here is when we originally, in the original GMP, we only have one elevator, but the plan for the building called for 2 elevators, okay? So talking with both the contractor and the architect, we would save a whole lot more money if we could install the elevator now, then come back in when we have the money sometime in the future and go bust up the wall and place that elevator. So those are the things that that total is $195,048. And I gave that into your package. Now I will tell you guys there will be some additional costs. We knew from the beginning that we did not put in the GMP is the remediation folks. They're gonna have to come back, and that's gonna happen real soon, because if you look at the building, there's a black mascot. I don't know what you call it, Nathan, but that has to be removed where the windows was. And we didn't want to take it off because we didn't want to expose the building to the elements. So we left it there until we were able to dry in the building. Now the building is dry in, and I think the contractor is ready for them to come in and remove that. But there is some dirty spot around those windows. So we got to get an environmental company to come in here to remove that and remediate it prior to us doing what we have to do there. I don't know that cost now. When I get the cost, I'll come back.
One of the major things I think that we're gonna probably ask and want to know is the funding for all of that we're having to do. Where is that coming from? And I guess more important than that, do we have those funds on hand?
Okay. If you go back to what on the handout that I gave you, the very first page, it says EDC project contingency. That's where that money coming from. Remember, we had $7.5 million for the total project. The GMP was 7.25. That allows you to have on your side $250,000 in contingency. That's where the money is coming from. And all this money was approved by the council. It's the council, like I said, it's the grant money, the 4.7, your match, and the additional funds that the council, you guys actually approved to the council, which totals 7.5. The GMP is 7.25, so that leaves you with 2.5, $250,000 for your contingency. Now, within the GMP, there is some contingency also that they're gonna use. And if they don't use it, it returns back to us. That's where this $195,048 coming from that 250 contingency on your side of the project, Commissioner.
Thank you so much. Any other questions for Mr. Baptiste on this agenda item?
Commissioner, the only thing I'm asking on this agenda item,
To ratify, right?
on this agenda item, what we're asking you guys to approve is the removal of the sand pit, and it provides you guys with invoices of that. I think I did. Yes, I did. Which was 18,890.70. The other one was removal of the pit itself, which was $33,850, and the replacement of the interior doors lamination, which is 31, which is a total about a little over $25,000. And
We're just ratifying that, right?
yes, we went to the manager because it was emergency type deal, and we, a lot of times you cannot just shut the job down, waiting for this board or the contractor. When I think something is emergency, I go to the manager and ask the manager if he could bring it to the council, and he brings it to the council, the executive session, and the council approves it. Now I'm going to send it back in a resolution because they have already ratified it.
Okay, so on this, we do still need to get a motion in a second and vote on it, or what?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion. There be any more questions?
I make a motion to move.
Who made the motion?
May I have a second?
I second.
Who made the motion?
I did, Jerry.
It was Jerry that made the motion. I want to say it was Mr. Smith that second.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we ratify what has already taken place with the city council to approve the payments for those additional items that we need for the 549 4th Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, to discuss the movement of funds from fiscal year 19 streets line to fiscal year 19 contingency line for the use of 549 Proctor Street. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. Again, here, with that $2.5 million in contingency that we just talked about, when we did the budget last year, we did not expect to spend all that money. And I put 200,000 of that money into a street account, hoping that we were gonna do the infrastructure for the Jade Avenue Business Park. Well, the Jade Avenue Business Park, we will not be doing any infrastructure because we're leasing that property to Motiva So what I'm doing is just taking that money that was originally set for the contingency from the street and put it back into contingency. And that's why I'm coming up with the $250,000. So I'm just moving the street money back into contingency because that's why I took it out from before. And I just want you guys to know that.
So what's your balance in your contingency fund?
If you look at the budget that we sent to you, the contingency right now is $224,808.
Okay, you say you're moving 2019's contingency fund into 2020.
No. I'm moving this year's budget that we had in street. That's what I did. We moved the money that we put in street that was originally for contingency. I'm moving it back to contingency in this year's budget because I'm not going to be building any streets. I'm putting it back where it belongs. If you look at your budget, if you look on the street, it's $0 there now because I moved the $200,000. And if you look at previous last month budget, I'm moving the $200,000 that we had in street into contingency so we could pay for the elevator, so we could pay for all this other stuff. That was all contingency money. We didn't know we would run into the problems that we have ran into in this building.
Yeah. I got that.
Okay.
Gee.
Any other questions about that? May I have a motion, please?
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
We're starting to have a lot of issues with problems coming up. So what do we have for this year in case other problems come up? Where all this money going to be coming from?
The only money that we have for this year is in contingency right now. And remember, we're in the month of August. Next month is September, which is the last month of the fiscal year. October 1 start a brand new year. And you guys approved a budget already for next fiscal year. So this year's budget ends September 31st. The budget you guys approved begins October 1.
And how much of that is budgeted for contingency?
For next year?
Yes.
Let me find what I sent out to you guys. Oh boy, I sent that out. For next year, 2020, if you look at 2020 next year, what I sent out to you guys for contingency, $75,000. That's what y'all approved, $75,000 for next year. Now, if currently in this year's budget you have 200 and so thousand, whatever you do not spend in this fiscal year could roll over to next year. But we believe that and I have the contract on. The goal is to get the elevator in by this fiscal year. If not, the money that we currently have in the contingency, that 175 that we have for the elevator, may move to 2019, 2020, 2021 rather. But until then, I have it in the budget I have to have the money to make something happen. I can't do something without money, with the money. So if it doesn't, what I'm saying here, if it doesn't happen this year, then it moves from this year's budget to next year. We could carry it over.
Mr. Smith, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Any other questions about the request for these funds to be moved from one line item to the other in the same fiscal year? May I have a motion, please?
I don't think an action. It's just, this is administrative.
No action
stuff.
item?
Yeah, this is administrative stuff, and I just want to let the board know what's going on. You know, because, you know, if I don't have money to pay electricity, or the electric bill, or the water bill, or the gas bill, I look at line items that I'm not using money, and I just make a budget adjustment. But because this was a large sum, Chairman and Commissioner, I want you guys to know what I've done.
Okay,
So what you're doing,
under normal
so what you're doing is inflating the budget.
No, we're not inflating the budget. If you go back and look at your budget from October 1, 2000, the budget from October, the budget is still, you budgeted, if you go back and look at from October 1, when the year started, you budgeted $12,440,448. That is still your budget. I'm moving money from one line item to another line item because I'm not using the money.
So you're inflating the line items.
No, I am, well, maybe it's different in terminology. If I cannot pay the light bill, just let them turn off the lights?
No.
So what we do is we look at line items where we have excess money and move money into line items where we need the money. We make adjustment to the budget. We're not inflating. We make an adjustment.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. This board, if you look at your budget just for the summer kids, extra help, you budget $83,000. You're not gonna spend but about 40. So you got $40,000 there. If I need some money for this fiscal year, I could go and move from one line item to another line item. They call that budget adjustment. That's not inflating the budget. Because the budget stays the same. What you budget for October 1, if you go back and you look at it, is $12,440,480.48. Same thing you budget. And if you look at your budget, Mr. Smith, it will tell you right now, and you only have 1 month left in the fiscal year, you have about $8,500,000 you haven't spent.
I understand that, Mr. Baptiste.
Well, I'm just trying to answer the question. But we're not inflating the budget. I can assure this board, no one here is inflating a budget.
So the thing that I guess maybe needs to be explained for clarity's sake, which you just explained, is that once the budget is approved, sometimes line items have to be adjusted so that business can continue.
That's correct. And that's what we're doing.
All right. And in that case, in that sense, the board really doesn't have to vote on that. You were just trying to make it known to us what was going on with the funding and finances that we approved.
That's correct.
Okay.
Every department within the city of Port Arthur, within each department, the director has a right to make budget adjustment based upon, you know, what it costs them to operate. They cannot inflate the budget, but they can make budget adjustments from one line item to the next line item, to another line item.
Okay. Any other questions about the adjustment to the budget as far as the line item being adjusted, moved? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Baptiste, for the information and keeping us informed.
Mr. Chairman, I
Hello?
don't know if I have, this is Kate, if I have an old agenda, but did we miss number 4?
Number 4 has been moved to executive session.
Okay, okay. Okay, sorry.
Moved
I'm
to
sorry.
executive session.
I hadn't noted that. Okay.
Okay, so agenda item number 9, to discuss the possible consideration moving forward with the installation of a second floor elevator in 549 4th Street project using funds from the EDC contingency fund. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, again, what we just explained, we moved the money from the street line item to the contingency fund, and the intent is for us to be able to and the contractor to move forward with the installation of the second elevator. All what I explained to you before is so that we could tell the contractor we're gonna move forward with installing this second elevator. And as I said to this board before, you know, based upon conversation with the contractor and the architect, we're gonna save quite a bit of money if we install that elevator now, instead of having to come back in the future and install an elevator. So what I've done here, Commissioner, is made the money available for that second elevator within your current budget without inflating it.
All right, any questions about agenda item number 9? May I have a motion, please?
Make the motion to accept it.
May I have a second?
I second.
That we approve agenda item number 9. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item.
Mr. Chairman, we had the CEO of CTEX on the line. If there's any question before y'all go forward, or Nathan, if you want to hang in there, man, you can hang in there. But if y'all have any question from the contract on 549, here's your opportunity to ask the guy that's in charge.
Okay, board members concerning anything going on with the project at 549, we have the general contract online. If you have any questions, this is the time to ask them. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Nathan, is there anything that you would like to?
That's fine, yes, sir.
Yeah, we have had some issues, we have had some, Nathan, you wanna tell them what's going on with the project?
Yes, sir, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to address the board. We've got a good working relationship with the EDC, with Floyd and his team. And the building's definitely had some challenges. You know, anytime you get into a building of that age that's been added on, you know, several times, you run into some unexpected things, some hidden things, like Mr. Batiste mentioned with that underground pit. So we think we're at the turnover point here, where most of the items in the building have been exposed for us to see what we're really working with. And we're excited to kind of turn the tide on that and be able to move forward with progress. We had a pretty good day today, getting the underreams poured for the new section of the building for the braces that are going to hold up the existing walls before we tear down the wood structure in the oldest part of the building. And that'll just allow things to free up to take down some of the additional structural walls in the building and then move forward, making progress with the build back. So we think it is a wise use of the funds to move forward with the elevator. It'll prevent you from having to do a lot of tear out of existing of new foundations in the near future, because all we have to do is excavate in the current areas and have that work done before the new slab is poured.
Thank you for that bit of information. We understand that you are doing some hard work and you are going along as you find things, and we appreciate your diligence to making sure that our building is put together in such a manner we don't have to come back and do this again in the near future. Any other questions from the board members?
Mr. Chairman, let me say while Mr. Rivers is on the phone, we meet twice every other Thursday, and we talk about this project, and we talk all the time. But his team and our team and the architect, we meet every Thursday, and we have a talk about what's going on with the building and where we're trying to get to next. And I just want to say, Nathan, that I certainly appreciate and enjoy the working relationship and how you're working on our behalf. I know what you guys are doing, and I know you guys are trying to save every penny that y'all can to help us get this project online. I appreciate that, man.
We echo that as well. I mean, not one part of the team can make this a success. It takes us and you guys and the architect all working together. So that's the only way this project will be a success in the end, is us all working hard to make it happen.
Thank you very much, Nathan.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Nate. Okay, agenda item number 10. Did we approve number 9 already? I heard the first and second. We did vote on it, right?
I don't know.
The motion did carry.
Jerry and Ron, the person, and
carried.
Second.
Okay. I think you may have come in before we actually took a vote on it. It's been moved and second to approve the installation of the elevator in 549 4th Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, to discuss for possible consideration approving the right of request of access, from Chevron Environmental Management Company. Mr. Batiste.
Kate, did Guy talk to you about this one?
Yes, this is just a request for access, and Guy worked with the Chevron representative, and they went back and forth on revisions, and they ultimately agreed to all of Guy's suggested revisions. So we recommend you all approve this item, please.
Yeah, my discussion with Guy was he had no problem with this, and I don't even think that they're gonna do anything to the land. It's just a survey, right? Or an assessment, right, Kate?
Right.
So Guy did not have any problem with us moving forward with giving these folks access to do that assessment.
All right, any questions about this? It's very straightforward. If not, may I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I second it.
That was Mr. Smith and Mr. LeBeau.
No, that wasn't me.
To both Mr. Smith.
Both Mr. Smith. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, to discuss for popular consideration moving the September 7th meeting to September 14th. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, sir. What we ask here is that your September 7th meeting is, I think, is Labor Day. And if you guys want to meet on Labor Day, myself and staff will certainly make ourselves available. But if you guys want to move it to the following Monday, we actually, whatever your desire is.
You got to make a
Are we still
motion.
online then?
Yes.
Sir?
Are we still online then, or are we in person?
I think for right now, that's my opinion, is up to you guys, but right now with what's going on, Doc, I think we need to stay online.
Okay.
We need to make a motion.
Yes.
I make that motion.
That we stay on the 7th or move to the 14th?
Then we move it to the 14th.
Okay, may I have a second?
A second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we move our regular scheduled board meeting from the 7th to the 14th of September. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we will hear any reports that we have available for tonight.
Okay, I'm going to give you a financial report, and I think Crystal sent you guys a financial. And I went through a lot of this while I was talking about the budget adjustment, but I'm going to just repeat some of this stuff. As I said, your annual budget was $12,440,448. Currently, this year, we have actually spent about $4 million, and you still have about $8.5 million in your budget. Some of that money, we got 60 more days of this fiscal year, and some of that money you're gonna spend some of it gonna be just going to your fund balance. But I project that in the next 60 days that you probably will spend another $3 million, another $5 million will go into your fund balance. So I think you guys are going to be in pretty good shape. I think if you look into on your line item, the big line item you have here is the development account, which you have about $2.7 million there, and we have several projects out there, but you may spend some money on that one. The 4B development, I think George, she said we should have about 7 or 8 additional houses constructed before the end of the fiscal year. So you're going to spend another $200,000-300,000 there. Job training, you guys just spent some money for Lamar, which is about $8,000, but I think you're going to spend less than $100,000 at the end of the year. So a lot of, and I'm telling you that because all that stuff's going to just carry over into your fund balance. Another line item that
Mr. Baptiste, I got a question. On the housing, you said, is this new construction?
they're all new construction, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I'm saying, what our project manager is saying, that they should close on 7 or 8 before the end of the fiscal year. So if it's 7 or 8 at $30,000, we're talking about $240,000. The rest of it going to be carried over into the following year.
Okay. What happened? I know she had talked about some old houses that they wanted to remodel. What happened with that?
They would have. She's in the process of negotiating the purchase first.
Okay. Okay.
But as I said, if you look at this budget, guys, I think the best way to look at it is look at the bottom line. and you actually budget 12 million, you actually spend about 4 million, you still have about $8.5 million. I'm going to project that 50% or more are going to be going into your fund balance. And the last column that I submitted to you guys, your budget for 2019, 2020, the only difference is about $20,000 more than this year, next year's budget. Yeah. So we projected $12,468,288. That's what y'all approved for y'all next year's budget. So, and within that budget, you know, we account for everything that we hope to spend or do business next year. Any questions on the budget?
Mr. Baptiste, did you just give all of the reports in one? That's what it sounded like to me.
Well, I got one other report. I think the other report I gave to you guys was I sent in your package was the sales tax. The sales tax report for the month of July. If you look at it, our current month of July was $1,311,914. You know, so our sales taxes, you know, despite all that's going on, we are still where we should be. We're really ahead of ourselves. If you look at this report will tell you that we're about 11% higher than we were last year. So we got 11% more revenue than we did last year. And I was looking at the state controller, and believe it, guys, when you look at the month of August, the sales, we're always 6 days behind. So when you're looking at August, you're really looking at June. Sales tax is higher than it was in the previous year. I couldn't believe it, but you know, the state controller is giving us numbers that they're collecting. So I think we're gonna have a fine year. I hope that this economy recover. I think if things had continued going the way we were going before, we probably would be at close to 25-30% high, because we were steady growing. The 10% that you're at right now is 11%. When I last 2 months ago, you was at 18% go up, and when the economy dropped down, your sales tax went down a little. You know, but I feel pretty confident that we're going to be very stable financially. The other thing I showed you guys, the industry breakdown. If you look at the industry breakdown, the retail, the general service, the food, the professional sales, each industry that we have, the amount of sales tax dollars that each one of those industries have produced in the variance. And when you look at the variance, you know, it's not many of them. You know, we're doing real good. We're doing real good overall. And the last thing I gave you guys is a copy of what we call the workforce development area. Looking at the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate here in Port Arthur is pretty high right now, but based upon the industry that we are, you know, the area that we're in, is nothing unexpected. You know, we're about 17%, 17.4% unemployment, but we got to remember that we're an industrial-based town, and a lot of our unemployment is based upon contractors' labor, contractors' work. Some people working, some people not working, some people following, some people not following. So, I still think we're in pretty good shape. That's my report. Any questions?
Mr. Batchy, this is Chris. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When we look at the environment that we're in, and we're looking at, I think we were talking about work keys about 6 months ago. Something about work keys, if I'm not mistaken. Are those guys giving us any kind of insights
George?
into?
It's ironic that you even said that. Today, the guy called from there. We were supposed to go to the workshop in New Orleans, but due to the pandemic, they're actually in the process of trying to figure out if they can do like we're doing right now, going online.
Right.
And so what we're going to do is kind of get back with the other parties that said they were going to go out there with us and see if they wanted to do that option or if they just want to possibly wait until April, because I believe the two sessions was like April and September. Okay. And so as of right now, you're right. We talked about it, several months back. We were supposed to go in April, but that was when New Orleans was a hot spot. And so they still haven't even did session 1 yet. They're trying to figure out. He told me that they're doing a pilot group right now in one county. So what I can do, as soon as we get everything together, I'll notify the board on the decision with the work keys.
Okay, because what I was thinking about, as you think about how different industries, to include our areas, looking at how they are revitalizing and how they're revamping how they need to go to work, and and how they're trying to get their people ready to go to work. I guess the question is can anyone share any kind of insights on stuff that we may not be looking at on what we need to do to help our employees or help our community be ready for those type of jobs that's going to be more remote, more digital, more online, versus the kind of organizations that we normally align to, which you have to be on site and do that kind of work. I guess, are we thinking far enough ahead to help our people be prepared for what they need to be prepared for that's coming?
Right.
Yes, that's my question.
Yes, like I said, I'll get with them, because that's kind of something that I discussed with them today. I was like, it might be best for us to go ahead and do the virtual thing to kind of get us, an idea of what these guys have, I guess, pretty much come up with as of right now, because you're absolutely right. We can't wait until 2 years from now to then decide, okay, how do we prepare our community for something that we can, look into right now.
Right. Okay. Well, hey, George, I look forward to your report back.
I got you.
I think the only thing, and George helped me out on this, I think our biggest concern is we have key players in this thing. We have a state representative, we have president of the Business Roundtable of Southeast Texas, and we also have the county judge involved in this thing. And doing it virtual like that and having to sit down for 4 hours is different than being in a place where you can't go somewhere. And so we got to weigh all this stuff out, Chris, because it takes those guys, Business Roundtable, these guys, he oversee all the plant managers in this area, the state representative, very active in this community, the county judge deal with these folks and us. We got to make sure that virtual will work for them also. Am I saying that right, George?
No, that's right. That's what I explained to Tony today with ACT. I told him that, it's more people involved with it than just EDC. So what we're going to do is, get a consensus from everybody involved. And if it's for, like he mentioned, state representative and everyone else, we may take that option and go ahead and do it virtually. But, it's best to see what this pilot group is doing, because everything is new to everybody right now with this stuff going on. So he said they're in the process of doing that pilot group right now for August, and he'll let me know, because originally we were supposed to go to New Orleans. Well, I can't say originally in April, but then they pushed it back to September. And he said 9 times out of 10, they won't even do it in September, because I think it's picking back up in New Orleans again.
I guess I'll give myself some kudos too, George. The IEDC going to have the annual conference in Dallas in October,
Yes, sir.
They have canceled that, guys. It's going to be virtual also. So, you know, for EDC to bring their annual conference to Texas, you know, we certainly would hope you guys would participate in some form or the other. We will definitely provide you guys with the information when that happens. I think that's in October, right, George?
Yes, sir. I think it's the beginning part of the week of the 15th, like around the 10th through the 12th or something like that.
Right. But they have made a decision that it will be virtual. So
no, they have.
They have. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. That's all I have, Chair. Dallas? Chair?
You have any other reports, Mr. Baptiste? Any other questions to Mr. Baptiste?
That's all I have. I think, George, you're gonna.
Oh, the instructions?
Yeah, well, I think the chair has to read about going to executive session.
Okay. Well, you can go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Executive session now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead and close this one up, and then I'll get the instructions on how to go in executive session.
Okay. Let me blow this up so I can read it. A closed meeting or executive session will be held pursuant to the following sections of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code. That's 55107, 55102, and 55104, 55107. Mr. Davis, give us the instructions, please. All right. We're ready to resume the regular board meeting for the Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Baptiste, would you give us a roll call, please? Mr. Baptiste?
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Smith? Dallas Smith?
Here.
Ms. Rhonda Connors?
Here.
Mr. Jerry LaBera?
Here.
Mr. Christopher Smith? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you so very much. What we have to address is agenda item number 4 from our board meeting. You give me a second. Let me pull that up. Mr. Baptiste, I know you have it. Go ahead and read that for me real quick.
Look like you're on mute, Mr. Baptiste. If you're reading it. You want me to read it, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, please read it, Mr. Davis.
Okay. Agenda item number 4.
To discuss for possible consideration the recommendation by staff as to an economic incentive and loan agreement with
La Boquita.
Thank you.
Okay, so I need a motion on that, please.
I motion.
What's the motion?
Should not move forward.
Okay, can I get a second on that?
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we do not move forward with this incentive agreement and loan agreement for La Boquita grocery store. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting for today.
Make a motion.
I second.
Second.
All right, our meeting is going to be adjourned at this time. Thank you all for your time and your patience on today. We had a lot to cover, but we need all that good information so we can make sound decisions. So thank you so much for dedicating your time to the meeting on today. We'll hear from you within a month.